Partnered by Times Influence.
Hello and welcome to Bingenomics, a partnership of ZEE5 with brandequity.com. Today we are focusing on how OTT platforms are the new hotbed for all interesting new content happening, and that's where the eyeballs are. So just how are brands engaging with OTT platforms and making a complete transformation in terms of their storytelling, engagement with audiences, and outreach? I've got three stellar guests to break this down for us and give us a complete spotlight on what is really happening in a world where digital first is the only way that we are recognizing. First off, I'd like to introduce Tushar Vyas, who's the president, Group M South Asia. I've got Hemant Mehta, managing director, Kantar, and CSO, Kantar South Asia, and Manish Kalra, senior vice president and business head, AWARD at ZEE5. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us. I'll come to you first, Hemant. The big picture, really. Focus on how OTT platforms now offer a complete experience for audiences and for brands.
I think the pandemic has really shown us one thing, and which is a global trend, that people are consuming much more content. If you look at the amount of time being spent on linear television, that is going up. At the same time, if you look at the time that is being spent on online videos, and OTT has grown exponentially. And what we ended up seeing was the emergence of a new phenomenon, which is that it's my me time. So I'm watching content which I want. And that really tells you the power of the OTT and online video, which is access, which is quality of content, and the different content that the consumers are really looking for.
I think that's a great starting point. Tushar, on to you now. Looking at the way brands or advertisers have approached the OTT space, what trends are you picking up? And I think I'd also like you to add to what Hemant said in terms of overall viewership. Where have the eyeballs sort of been? Where are you seeing the trends play out?
If one has to write basically in a way like a history of OTT in India, I think the 3 point definitely will come up. One first trigger was basically entire geo phenomena in terms of the way entire data proliferation and the pricing has changed. The second will be pre and post COVID. That was the second trigger. And of course, the third, which was underlying, was the pricing of devices. I think the three things has completely changed the way people are consuming internet in the market. And it's become sort of much wider. And of course, Hemant has given some of the number. But post-COVID, the consumption definitely skyrocketed, and OTT was one of the key beneficiary of that. As far as the sort of advertiser part goes, they follow the eyeball, and there is a sort of natural momentum which is happening with the digital consumption going up, and within that, video is playing the key role, and OTT is one of the beneficiaries. So definitely, they are going to get benefit out of that.
Okay. Now, Manish, you're the OTT guy. You've seen the way advertisers have noticed the massive increase in subscription levels at OTT platforms. How would you say the last 8 to 10 months have played out for OTT platforms?
Well, it's been really exciting times, Shelley, for OTT. I think just by virtue of having a pandemic and people staying at home, the need to get entertained at home increased. And obviously, people had to move digital. So we saw a significant increase in content consumption, almost 200% increase in time spent pre and post, as well as 41% increase in DAUs. We also saw subscription revenues going up significantly post the pandemic. I think one key thing from an advertiser perspective, like Tushar mentioned, the power we give to the advertiser to target the user basis your demographics, your behavior, kind of very sharply targeted niche audience can be picked on OTT. And they overlap heavily with the TV audience viewers. So definitely OTT is improved and it has gained significantly post-COVID, and advertisers are also enjoying the benefit of targeting with OTT.
a little ahead, I want to just get a couple of other macro points in. So, Hemant, if you were to shed some light on how television viewership has coexisted with OTT, and how you see that dynamic change, evolve, increase. How many screens do you expect people to be, sort of watching at a go? I'd like some inputs on your research there.
The interesting bit is consumers are chasing content, and screen, in a way, is becoming irrelevant. Are also being consumed on the platform. That's one side of the story. The other side is that we did a global research which shows that 74% of the SVOD subscribers, which is a subscribers who are paying for the content, actually sign up for a platform just for the series, right? Every new series which comes in, you find that. So what the point I'm trying to make is that today the consumer is so careful or evaluative in terms of what kind of content that she wants to watch and where is it available, and she's going there. If you look at linear television versus digital, I don't think there is the conflict. I think they are coexisting. They're complementing each other. And from a consumer's point, it's just an additional means of getting the kind of information, content, or entertainment that they're looking at.
Okay, so that's interesting. Consumer basically is choosing where the content is and how that content is playing out. Okay, Tushar, how have the advertisers changed their tack looking at this? There's the argument on Manish's point on targeting very specific nature of audiences. That's one piece for the advertiser. The other is typically, given what's been happening to budgets, advertisers are looking at where do they put the most money. What trends are you picking up there?
I think one of the change happened is basically the entire scale, right? So, for example, in the past, always this between scale of a TV versus scale of digital video or OTT. I think soon that question is going out of window in terms of why. More and more, the question is becoming how and what kind of question, right? With the sort of number being at a parity, now we are talking about in terms of what's a merit, what the medium is bringing in terms of be it a medium of message, medium as a message, or a targeting capability. And one of the key benefit digital medium brings is the pivot is audience. It's not a content or not a channel, right? And you are end up chasing the consumer wherever they are. So it's going to be more in a more targeting manner, more accountable manner. And the classical, basically, how do I run advertising which is less spillover, right? So which is a half creating a in a way burden for me, which has been identified right now. So it's a more efficient way, and naturally it will go in that direction.
Manish, when you look at user experience, that's of course your primary target, but part of the user experience is how you can offer advertisers innovation on the OTT platform.
Inherently, we are a highly data-driven company. So we understand user behavior, we understand the kind of content they drive, view. And then there's a backend AI and ML engine running, which defines that, hey, based on this taste cluster, this viewer is likely to react to this ad more efficiently. So that is happening in the background to support the targeting. Parallelly, we are also bringing up a new advertising format. So you can run AFP, like in traditional TV, you had AFPs. We can create brand-led content in a very targeted way with our celebrities. We've also launched a UGC content platform called Hippie, wherein the brands are coming in and they're taking influencers and driving marketing programs with them. At the same time, they can do impression-based, view-through based targeting and measure the effectiveness for each of them. Then obviously for players like e-commerce, there is a bottom funnel advertising wherein they can target basis their advertising spend, how much transactions are they getting. So multiple formats by virtue of technology and digital approach that we have. From a user experience, now my core user is a user who is watching along with an advertiser. From their perspective, we want to ensure that the player experience is seamless on lower devices, on lower bandwidth networks. Also, I think one key segment, Shelly, which we were pleasantly surprised, which has emerged after COVID, is connected TVs. So these are online TVs. Now, because the family is watching the content together, TV screen is kind of showing comeback on OTT. Almost 15% of our traffic has moved to connected TVs, wherein people are streaming ZEE5, whether it's AVOD or SWOT platform, on their connected TVs. families watching together, they're experiencing the full overall movie experience or the TV experience on the big screen. And that, from an advertiser perspective, gives a very huge opportunity to target a evolved user, a high affluent household, which is on connected TV. Also, I think some of the things we discussed, that broadband penetration increasing, as well as cheaper devices being available at low cost with good experience. So that's helping the overall industry. But definitely we are innovating at our end, taking advertiser interest in mind, their ability to target the user, providing them various formats of targeting as well as influencer marketing, which is working in their favor and which is also kind of driving the shift in advertising dollars online versus TV.
So, Hemant, looking at the experience of most organizations with digital, good numbers, exploring, content that really works, especially content that they can innovate in. My question to you is, when somebody lands up at an OTT platform, what will be the key pieces that they would have to differentiate? And what is it that the advertisers would want to spot in when they try and seek, let's say, the next big place they want to put their money bags at?
I think, Sherry, going back to our observation has been it's the content choices. One of the interesting things that we've noticed is the way the consumers are choosing content has actually undergone a huge change with the onset of OTT. So just to give you an example, today a horror is not just a horror show, or a thriller is not a thriller. There are sub-genres which have emerged. And that seems to be hooking the audience, right? And I think that creates an opportunity for the brands really to say, hey, what's my brand personality? What kind of consumers? Like Tushar was mentioning about this whole thing about saying, we are chasing consumers and not ratings or eyeballs. So if you're doing that, I think OTT gives you a great opportunity to say, hey, this is a specific kind of target. There's enough of knowledge which is available about who the typical consumer of that content is going to be, and therefore you're able to target them. So I think it's adding a lot more accountability in terms of the media investments that brands are making. And yes, it's measurable in a way, and we're there to help measure the impact. I'm going beyond the data which is available with the platforms themselves. So it's a very measurable, accountable in that sense. So the advantages are targeting, chasing the audience of the type that you want, and then actually bringing in the accountability.
Okay, so Tushar, I think there is nothing more attractive, or certainly the most attractive thing of digital has been its measurability. But now, when you look at brands, are they coming chasing genres? Are they coming chasing storytelling? At this time, they're probably also looking at conversions in a big way. How do you see that playing out over the next 6 to 8 months?
I'd like to make a couple of points, 3 points actually here. One is the approach in digital is becoming more and more sort of full funnel approach. In a way, those line between ATL, BTL is sort of blurring, and more you're looking at through the funnel. So as Manish has mentioned, there can be a performance campaign running on a video and sort of vice versa, right? So I think that's sort of one of the important points to sort of understand when you're especially working in digital environment. Second is the relevance of format is also changing. And again, I'm just going back to Manish's point, is 15% of connected TV viewership coming on OTT, right? So it's a more of a what kind of content you are watching. So is it a live content? Is it a linear TV, or it's on-demand content? You might be watching on a 4-inch mobile phone in handheld format, or a 555-inch screen in your bedroom, right? So I think the form factor is becoming irrelevant, but it's more in terms of mode. Are you in a lean forward mode or a lean back mode? How you are consuming content and what's the impact on that? And third point is the entire shift in terms of audience planning, right? The lens is shifting in terms of the way you are allocating media and how you are chasing your audience. The classical way of looking at media was you pick up a channel or pick up a sort of publication and place within a certain program, right? Here, what you're looking at is you're looking at your core audiences and going behind, how do I find more of a similar audiences? So some of the genre conversations are becoming more of a guardrail rather than a sort of selection point.
So, Manish, looking at the way OTT has sort of shaped these few months, how do you see the next, let's say, couple of quarters? Because it appears that so far as the pandemic piece goes, it's here to stay, whether the vaccine comes or it doesn't.
It's behavior change which has happened, Shelly. We all have discovered digital as an entertainment medium. It offers its own advantages both to viewers and advertisers. For a viewer, if it's a private content you want to watch, you can watch it on your 5-inch screen, or if you want to watch with family, you can watch live TV news, live linear TV. Even for us right now, if you see, 80% of our users are still coming for linear content. They're coming for linear TV capture, and it's just the convenience that you can watch it anytime, anywhere on your free device. TV is anyway a shared family device. So let's say husband's watching news, the wife wants to catch up on her favorite TV series, she'll come and watch it on ZEE5 online. So that evolution with broadband, with devices, as well as change in user habits is here to stay. I think all of us will keep seeing that, hey, both TV and OTT will exist together. TV may, and I believe for next 3 years, may still be the biggest or the big brother in a way that will lead the overall entertainment. Definitely, the growth is going to happen. There are various industry estimates. PwC says that OTT will see 30% CAGR. BCG is saying 27% CAGR. So I think all that is favorable in our direction. And as I mentioned, user habits are changing, and everything in the ecosystem is favoring the transition. So we will see continued evolution. Like Tushar mentioned, from an advertiser perspective, also they're learning and they're kind of realizing the benefits of targeting a user and the measurement they can do. And from a user perspective, the flexibility, the privacy, ability to watch it on any device, any format, and kind of getting new content, like Hemant mentioned. It could be a content which is a SVOD, it could be a content which is a linear TV, as well as we are, in fact, we're realizing for a linear TV viewer, dubbed content from like Turkey, Korea, that's also working in India. So there are multiple formats which are coming in. The point I'm making is innovations happening, users are enjoying the benefits of it, advertisers are coming in. So yeah, it's all moving in the right direction for us.
Yes, indeed. And you pointed out people are actually lapping up a lot of content that may not be locally produced or in local languages. People are willing to explore, I guess, different series from different parts of the world. I'm going to take closing comments from each one of you now. Hemant, I'll ask you first. Based on what Tushar and Manish have talked about from a content and an advertiser standpoint, what would be like a significant trend that you would closely watch? We talked about the fact that smartphone access has gone up pretty nicely, and most players, including ZEE5, are producing for different levels of bandwidths. So, if you, as somebody who deep dives into the trends of the future, is going to look at one, what would you say would be the most watched out for trend for now?
So, in my view, I think to pick on the point that Tushar made earlier, that OTT, the first stage of revolution started with data prices coming down. I think the next trigger that I would keep an eye on is that today, while the screen is available, a smart TV is available at a very affordable price, how quickly are households going to get Wi-Fi enabled with the broadband connectivity? And that's going to be a big one, which is going to really change the shape of the way medium is being consumed, the OTT and online content is being consumed. And there are all good reasons for that change to happen. It's just a matter of another data revolution and in the broadband space taking place. So I would closely keep an eye out on that, because that's going to be a big game changer for the medium.
Tushar, what about you?
Yeah, like to go back to the point which briefly I discussed earlier. So one is the full funnel approach. The second point is basically approach in terms of audience planning while sort of selecting and advertising on OTT platform. When I say audience planning, there's one dimension which is behavioral, demographic, location, and it provides all this sort of targeting parameter, and one should leverage fully to minimize failure and get a better efficiency.
Final word to you, Manish. And ZEE5, how are the next 6 months likely to pan out for you?
I think exciting is the word. We're super excited with the growth we're seeing. We're super excited with the transition which advertisers are making on spending their marketing dollars on OTT. We're super excited about the consumer transition happening. We want to ensure regional content is catered to. We want to ensure low-end devices are catered to. We want to ensure that if Geo fiber kind of comes in big way, we are present there. So some of the transitions are something which we're getting ourselves to.
Well, gentlemen, I think you've got a lot packed in that show, Bingenomics, giving a perspective on the kind of smartphone penetration we need to watch out for. But most importantly, this optimism on how brands, advertisers, and OTT platforms can work together to deliver as much as they can to a very demanding viewer. At the end of the day, content will be the centerpiece with some fantastic elements of data helping that build and bloom for viewers across the country. Thank you very much for joining us.
Partnered by Times Influence.